Hello everybody, welcome to our online audience as well as our fabulous in-person audience here today at Amazon head offices. My name's Louise Ween, I'm the CEO of NAWO. I'm so proud to lead this amazing network that is growing all the time, not only with organisational members, of which we have 94 now, but our member base with all of the fantastic the individuals that are involved, which is actually the most important part. I'm delighted to MC for you today, and my very first order of proceedings is to acknowledge country. It's a very important part of our work at NAWO's to make sure that we do acknowledge the First Nations traditional owners of this land and to recognise what they bring to our culture as Australians all together, and to really recognise that there is so much that we can learn in what we do. So mentoring, we're here to celebrate mentoring, and there's so much to learn from culture. And I acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and pay my respects to elders past and present. And it is with great pleasure that I introduce you to Wurundjeri Elder Uncle Bill Nicholson, here with us today to do a very special welcome to country, which is sensational. Now, just a little bit about Uncle Bill before he comes up. He is deeply committed to Wurundjeri Woiwurrung culture and traditional practice, and continuously advocates for the rights of contemporary Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people to access and practice culture, on traditional country, which is so important. Uncle Bill is Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Corporation's principal adult cross-cultural educator for the corporate, not-for-profit and university sectors. A former Winston Churchill Fellowship recipient, Uncle Bill's fellowship explored cultural practice and maintenance amongst First Nation communities in urban environments. And I can't wait to get a hold of that and have a good read. It'd be great. Uncle Bill was also amongst the Victorian delegates nominated to attend the First People's Assembly, which resulted in the Uluru Statement of the Heart, from the Heart. So we are delighted to have you here, Uncle Bill. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Louise, and I guess this is working. I don't normally need microphones. I'm born with an amplified voice. My aunties always used to tell me to keep my voice down, but it's become an advantage as a storyteller so people can hear me. Thank you so much for that very kind introduction. Thank you so much for all the hard workers behind this gathering here on my people's traditional lands. There has been a formal ceremonial process for thousands of years. Now, the scientists like to put numbers to our connection to country. I've heard 40, I've heard 50, I've heard 60,000 years. Our culture doesn't have numbers like that. Our culture says since the beginning of human consciousness, where women were created from the sacred river, the water, the Birrarung, or the Yarra as it's known today, and man from the earth and clay of the river country. But for thousands of years, there has been a formal ceremonial process that allows people to feel culturally safe to conduct their business. And that's what we generally call welcome to country today. In traditional language, it's called Tandaram Naji. That respect is a real key to feeling truly welcome to this land, which I'll express when I actually welcome people to country at the end of the welcome speech. Wiminchika, Gabamalamangil, Balambunyanambu, Waranjeri Bala, Niranamaga Gil Bill Nicholson. I welcome you here for a reason and purpose, and that's a very special reason for the gathering here today. I greet you and good day from the Wurundjeri people or community. My name is Uncle Bill Nicholson. That language I just spoke is not a lost language. I don't like to think negative like that it's a language that would never be spoken fluently again. Because in 1863, the colony now known as Victoria decided that the best for us was to ban our language at a place called Corrindurk. So for the non-locals here, it's about 80 kilometres up the river that way. But we're trying to bring it back. And to me, language is the basis of anyone's culture because it's how you express everything and how you learn everything. It's kind of like the programming of a person. And to take it away is like a reprogramming. So we are striving very hard to reconnect with our language. We are the sole surviving sovereign clan of the Birrarung. It's a long story how the word Yarra came about. I won't take up all your time explaining it. But the Birrarung is the sacred river of mists. And saying that statement, soul surviving, comes with a lot of meaning. One's very sad, that we are the only family group left of the Birrarung and our neighbouring river, the Maribyrnong. So I would like to acknowledge all the family groups and clans that are not here in 2024 represented on their traditional lands, both here locally and throughout the rest of Australia. The sovereignty part relates to what I call the inheritance from my ancestors to care for the 3 Cs. That is both country, community, and to keep our culture alive. That comes from my ancestors, my elders past, who I would like to acknowledge for their strength and their wisdom and their resilience that allows us to be here today. And to give you a statistic to hopefully help you connect to what I'm saying, in 1863, a man named Simon Wonga, so again, for the non-locals here, there's a place called Wonga Park about 40 k's that way, named after Simon. Simon was our first land rights advocate. And when he set up Corranderk, where my grandmother was born, I believe there was only about 18 of us left. So that's a real strong, I guess, statistic to me, but it's a real strong reason why we acknowledge our elders past. I've got to thank my grandmother actually too, because she met an Irishman named Paddy, and 2 very strong individuals right there. They had to be, because they produced 16 children. So I've got to thank them too for creating the large family that we have today. I'd like to extend my acknowledgement to any Indigenous people that are here with us now or online, and your elders. I'd like to extend that acknowledgement to our community leaders here today. From a cultural point of view, the reason we're here today, one of the key reasons, is that our elders weren't selfish. They always conveyed the voice and the wants and needs of their community by earning the respect of their community through their interaction. I'd like to also acknowledge environmental leaders here today. The country, Australia, and I guess you could say the world, but I can't speak on the whole world's behalf, but here on my country I can. It is not healthy, and the health of the land relates to the health of the country, and we are constantly working with people to heal country, which in turn heals people, and I like to acknowledge the people who understand that and action that. And also I would like to acknowledge cultural leaders here today, and generally what I mean by that is Melbourne's known as a very multicultural society today, which it is. I could pretty much say just about the whole world's represented on Wurundjeri land these days. I would like people to feel culturally safe on Wurundjeri land, to get out and share your stories, share what's important to you, your histories, your cultures, your identities, whatever it may be. Because the more that people feel safe in sharing their stories, the more listening occurs. And listening is the basis of what we call Jindiwarabak Balak. It builds mutual respect, and Jindiwarabak Balak means unity in the community. I guess you could say the basis of reconciliation in the modern terminology. Now, for thousands of years, when children were brought up on this land, and not far from here actually, for the locals, the botanical gardens down there, that's where the Tandaramnaji ceremonies occurred, in a very local area where we are right now. But when children were brought up, they were taught many things, but 2 key aspects: to care for country and care for each other through upholding the responsibilities that you were taught through the knowledge systems from your extended family. Now, I would like to extend that responsibility to everyone that either lives on Wurundjeri country or visits this land, to try our best to care for those things, this land and each other. History was tough. It was brutal, as those statistics I said earlier sort of point to. Let's try our very best to understand sometimes history mistakes are made, and if we are progressive as a society or even as an individual, we learn from mistakes and try our very best not to let them occur again. And that's what I encourage people to do. And also, let's try our very best to eradicate racial discrimination once and for all off Aboriginal lands. We want to leave a better environmentally healthy world and a socially healthy world for our generations moving forward. And I really believe Australia can lead the world in that. with all our multiculturalism and differences, and if we can create unity through those differences, it can guide the world through respect of differences. The Tanderum ceremony, it's like a passport. It allows you access to someone's land that you're not connected with. There's a smoking ceremonial part that symbolises the spiritual cleansing of Murrut Bullock, which is the spirit of people, and Murrut Beek, which is the spirit of the land. And I won't be lighting fires up here, up in the building here. I don't think it'll work too well. But I'd just like to say to people, to feel truly welcome to the land, respect the people, country and culture is our law, which was never ceded. And like I said at the start, I feel that respect. So I'd like to say on behalf of myself and my community, and look, I guess most importantly too, my ancestors, Wiminjika Wallanjeri Bik, welcome Wurundjeri country to you all, and I hope you have a really great gathering here on Wurundjeri land. So Nun Gudjin, thank you.
Thank you, Uncle Bill, for that very heartfelt welcome, and what fabulous messages for us as well, for us all to really reflect upon and take away. And again, so aligned to what we're here gathering to celebrate today is unity and connection and sharing of stories and sharing of experience from those of us in the community who are also, you know, elders in many different respects. So I thank you so much for joining us today. It's been fantastic. We have so many special guests online and here in person at Amazon, and I wish to particularly welcome our NAWO board and committee members who are here today. We have the chair of the NAWO board, Deborah Spring, and we also have Mel Donald from the board as well, and several members of committee, which I'm very pleased to see you all here. Thank you to Michelle Clark, the Director of Victorian Office for Women, for joining us today in place of Minister Hutchins, who unfortunately is unable to make it this evening. And welcome, of course, to all of our 2024 mentors and mentees. That's what we're here about, and we're delighted to be celebrating with you as you complete your journey this year. We've been absolutely reveling in the feedback that we've been getting from mentors and mentees. It just lights up our world, so thank you so much. To our mentoring alumni, you've come, you've arrived, you've got your little badges. How exciting. But it's wonderful to be building this alumni community. It takes a while to build these networks and to make them meaningful, and we're wanting to do it for you. So thank you for coming along today and helping us achieve this. And tonight's a celebration. Right? So I want to see people relax, loosen up a bit, work's finished, we can enjoy ourselves. So I would like to see you loosen up and celebrate. We have the fabulous mentoring program manager, Alicia Taylor-Jones, online to really look after everybody that's enjoying the streaming experience. So I hope our onliners will join us in this little activity as well. I would love to hear you all do, and it will be cathartic, I promise, a big celebratory woo! And I'm going to do count of 3, and I want to see how well we do it, all right? So you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Oh, that was so much better than I thought it would be the first time round. We don't even have to practice it twice. So onliners, I hope you're doing a big woo too. I want to make sure that your pets wake up, your children come and look in the door and say, what are you doing in there? And if you are still at work, you poor souls, but I have to say, scare your colleagues, and I want to hear a big whoop because I'm going to give you something to whoop about. In 2024, we had 257 mentees mentored by 130 volunteer mentors across the country. Woo! How good is that? And that brings us to 1,069 people mentored by over 400 volunteer mentors over the last 12 years. Woo! How you going online, everyone? Have you got cats and dogs coming in wondering what you're doing? This is not an actual statistic, but when I look at all the names of the fabulous people that have participated in this program over the years, I can guarantee you 95% of those participants are still working in operations, are thriving in their careers and having an absolute blast of a time. As my children would say, they're slaying, right? So it's good. This year, we've also had 20 awesome allies graduate from our pilot program called GEM. It stands for Gender Equality Men. So that's 20 men who really took it upon themselves to explore the world of gender equality, learn more about it, and understand what they can practically and actively do in their workplace to really help support and drive gender equal outcomes. So big woo to them as well. I've lost my earpiece, everybody. Oh no. Oh no. I've lost Richard in my ear, but we'll fix you up in a minute, Richard. So here we go with the formalities, and I've got a very special introduction to make. Sandra McNeil is the Country Director of Operations for Amazon Australia, where she is responsible for end-to-end supply chain operations, including fulfillment and logistics, print on demand, transportation and delivery services, reverse logistics, and operational excellence. That's a lot. Sandra joined Amazon in 2020 as the General Manager for a robotic sortable customer fulfillment centre located in Texas, where she was responsible for the 24/7 site operations of approximately 4,500 associates. She came to Amazon after working 24 years in the automotive manufacturing industry, most notably as the Manufacturing Chief Engineer of the 2020 mid-engine Corvette program at General Motors, and that is a cool car. She has worked in 4 different multi-year overseas assignments, supporting manufacturing and supply chain operations across the US, Canada, Mexico, South Korea, ASEAN, Middle East, India, Egypt. Honestly, what an amazing background. Sandra holds a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Oklahoma State and an MBA from the University of Dallas, and she has such passion for diversity, which we have already seen in her short time here in Australia, which is amazing. So if all of that was not enough, Sandra is also the executive sponsor of the NAWO membership for Amazon. And since the moment she arrived here down under, she has shown active support for the work we do to achieve gender balance at every level. And I'm so grateful to her because she's rolled up her sleeves, and not only has she sponsored the mentoring program and been continuing to be the executive sponsor of that, she has facilitated the Alumni Pod Club. So if you haven't logged into that yet, you're missing out because that was absolutely legendary. And today she will be leading a conversation about the importance of mentorship with 2 other exceptional leaders from Amazon, Jackie Marker and Jenny Candiono. So I would love to welcome you all up to the stage, to these fabulous chairs, and let's get the panel going.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And I'm really excited to have the opportunity to host this panel with the 2 of you from Amazon. Before we get started, how about each of you maybe give us a brief introduction? Who are you? What's your role? And then what has been your involvement with the NAWO mentoring program?
Sure. Would you like to go first, Penny?
Sure, thanks, Jackie.
That's very loud, isn't it?
It is loud. Yeah, it is loud. I feel like I should be singing. Maybe we'll do that at the end, right? So my name is Jenny Candiano. Hello to those of you that I've never met before. I am Fulfillment Centre Site Lead at BE1, which is our fulfillment centre for customer fulfillment for Amazon Australia in Brisbane. So I have the privilege of leading the team up there that is responsible for the local servicing of our Brisbane customers up there. I have been with Amazon, I'm in my 6th year now, which is very special. I got a special border on my badge this year for having hit my 5-year anniversary. And before that, I've worked in supply chain and logistics for about 10 years. I'm a maths graduate, so I actually hold a bachelor's in maths. I started life in finance, we don't tell our finance friends, but it wasn't exciting enough for me, unfortunately, working in insurance. But yeah, so I found a real passion by accident in something that I love in operations, and ever since I've been in operations, I haven't looked back. So yeah, that's me, and nice to meet you all, and happy to be here today, and so privileged to be on this panel with two very exceptional leaders.
Thanks, Jenny. Hi, everyone. My name is Jackie Marker. I am the HR Operations Director, and I support Australia, Singapore, China, and Malaysia. I've been with Amazon for 4.5 years. I started in North America when I was living in Nashville. This is not my thick Tennessean accent, in case you were a little bit confused. And I've been back home in Sydney now for 3 years. I've been a mentor for 2 years now.
I forgot to mention, I'm a mentee in the program, so that's why we've got all bases covered between me and Jackie here.
Yes. Well, thank you. With that, that's a nice transition into our first question. And I'm actually going to pose it to the both of you, and maybe we'll start with you, Jackie. Can you share a mentorship experience that significantly impacted your career or personal growth?
Sure. I will start by saying even though I've been a mentor in this program, I actively seek out mentorship for myself. So I have many mentors professionally and personally. I have mentors that are very similar to me, and I am very intentional about seeking out mentors that are very different to me as well. I really want to disconfirm beliefs. I want to challenge my own assumptions. But the main common theme across all of my mentors is that they know me really well. They know my core values. They know the tensions that exist in my life. They know the challenges of just day to day. And they really just understand the dynamic of who I am as a human, both personally and professionally. I'll share a personal experience that's quite recent, so it might be a bit raw. And I want to highlight just how my interaction with a mentor over the last week has really helped me. So, as you know, my father's quite sick, and we're not quite sure what the situation is. And it's been a really, really tough few weeks. In fact, I don't think I can recall another time where I've been so challenged with the intersection of my identities. So I'm trying to be a good daughter, a good sister, a good wife, a good mum, a good boss, a good colleague. And to say that it's been overwhelming is an understatement. There's been a lot of tension there, and there's been a lot of friction. And so I've called on to some good mentors. And despite the diversity of my mentors, there's a common theme that has come out after speaking to them. And I know the message because at the subconscious level, I know what it is that I have to do, right? And I say subconscious because I know it, but my actions and behaviours are very disconnected. It's the look after yourself first, put the oxygen mask on. You can't control everything. You need to focus on the things that you can control. There's always going to be a trade-off, etc. But there's one thing that appeared, or an insight that I got from my mentoring in the last week. And it's the investment that I've made in all my intersecting identities and why I'm not utilizing that credit at that point in time. And it's interesting because I've never given myself almost permission to do that. It's like I've been holding on to this fear. But knowing that I have built that equity and I can take those credits, and knowing that it's not going to affect my identity as a mum or as a daughter or a sister or a wife or a boss or a colleague or a middle-aged woman for that point in time. But one mentor particular helped me reframe balance. And I was having a conversation with her about just all the competing priorities and how I was pulled in so many directions. And she asked me, how do I define success at this season in my life? And it just totally shifted my thinking from trying to do everything perfectly at once and to just being present in the moment at that point in time, on that hour, on that day. And really removing that pressure of perfection, which some of you might know I like things to be perfect. So, and another mentor that I'd reached out to, who has very similar intersecting identities as I do and has recently lost a parent, said, you don't need to have it all together, just show up as you are. What is it that you're afraid of? And, you know, this just keeps coming back to this permission to be imperfect. And it's really just helped me navigate the uncertainty of the complex situation that I've been in over the last few weeks. So for me, the mentorship has allowed me to be vulnerable. And it's also allowed me to be okay with not having all the answers. I put this pressure on myself because I am an executive coach, and I figure, well, I need to coach myself out of this situation. And it turns out that's not a very effective strategy. So I share all this to say I do mentor in the program, but I actively seek mentors for myself, because even though I'm a coach, I don't have all the answers, and I need to be okay with that.
Thank you. What a phenomenal story. Thank you for sharing your story. And I think some really great lessons there. First of all, sorry that you're going through that, but I appreciate your vulnerability in sharing that and being open that, you know, you can't be Superwoman. You can't be everything to everybody at all times, and it's okay to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. So thank you. Jenny, we'll transition to you. Do you have a story you'd like to share of how a mentorship program has impacted your career or personal growth?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing I'd love to say to acknowledge Jackie's story, for me, this is the power of the community of mentorship as well, because I was intently listening. I need to write some notes because there was so much I could learn from that. And relentless perfectionist over here as well. And I think my feedback that I get every year is, Jenny should stop trying to be Superwoman. So lots of lessons I think I could learn in your experiences. And I think for me, one of the things that I've really found beneficial in having a mentor, and specifically through this program, having that person external to Amazon. So I can say this to fellow Amazonians, right? Our culture is very strong as a business, and we get very Amazon-y in the way that we do things, in the way that we address problems and overcome challenges, and really staying in tune with our leadership principles. But I think what's been really helpful for me, especially in a role where I am in Queensland and a little bit further away from the rest of the leadership team, to have that person who's really holding me accountable for looking in the mirror. I think I have a strength in I'll write a lot, probably sometimes, which is one of our leadership principles at Amazon. And I'm a hyper-confident person. I will say that confidently, right? But I think sometimes, confidently, I'm putting it out there, so it's true, right? I'm a hyper-confident person, and I know that's a strength that I have. However, it does mean sometimes I can be a little bit steadfast and kind of, I'm running 100 million miles an hour, and maybe I don't consider all the perspectives too well. So having that person there who's really holding the mirror up to me and challenging me on my beliefs and my assumptions and what I know to be true, because it is true in my world, in Jenny's mind. But having that person there to really challenge my perspective has been so valuable. I think also going into a team for me, and you can hear from my accent, I'm also not local. I've done a little bit of moving around with Amazon, but I moved from Sydney to Brisbane last year into a brand new team. I didn't know anyone. So I'm walking in just kind of fresh perspective, and having that person there to really talk through some of the dynamics of my team, who's completely independent, to sort of guide some of those, how I can be an effective coach and leader to my team as well, was super helpful when that person didn't know any of these individuals from anybody else, right? So completely removed, to really ask critical questions of me, to, like I say, really challenge my perspective on my team and really what they need from me and what the best decisions are. So yeah, I think having that external perspective and challenging what Jenny knows in her world to be true, I think is the best thing I can say that I've had from this mentorship program.
That's awesome. And I think all of us can often use an accountability and someone that helps us maybe be more vocally self-critical and, like you said, kind of look ourselves in the mirror and figure out how we can continue to evolve and become a better version of ourselves, which is a journey. All right. So the next question I'd like to ask, Jenny, and it sounds like you've had a number of different mentors, both internal to the company and external. Any advice that you would give for someone that's thinking of getting into a mentorship relationship as a mentee? What has worked for you as you set up kind of what you'd like to get out of the relationship and what you're actually trying to learn and grow?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's something I know me and yourself, Sandra, we actually discussed early this year, right? And you gave me some great advice, which I have followed. But I think understanding with each mentor that you have, first of all, like Jackie said before, matching a mentor, really, really important that you understand what you are going to that mentor for. You might respect them as a person, but that doesn't mean they're going to be the right mentor for what you need. You know, the idea is, okay, connection's important, but really understanding the purpose of that mentoring relationship. So as a mentee, understanding your mentor, their strengths, their experience, what they're bringing to the table, and how does that fit in with your needs as a leader, or professionally, personally, whatever it is you're looking for, to really align a sort of North Star goal or something that you are hoping to, you know, receive from them or learn from them or absorb from them in their experience. I, like you said, have had a number of mentors across this year, both internally and externally, and I've been really clear in defining what each one of those relationships can give to me and making sure they're also discrete and different, so that I can optimize my efficiency, right? I'm getting different things from every stream. It's worked really well for me, and I was just reflecting actually in the taxi on the way here that one of my internal mentorships and the advice that I'm getting through that mentorship and some doors that it's opened for me more recently that I'm super excited about, I think that's also helped invigorate me and in some of the things I'm passionate about as well in my professional career. So things that I love a lot, and I think that was something I didn't really think of. I go, yeah, I know this part of my brand. Everyone knows this part of my brand, but this person's really challenged me to go, but how are you leaning into that and doing more of that as well? So I think for me, having that clear, defined goal with each mentor that I have is really, really key to making sure that you get what you need from each one of those relationships.
Pretty powerful. Thank you. And then, kudos to your mentor, too, to tell you to lean into your passion. I'm a firm believer that you can only be successful if you kind of lean into your passion and, again, become the best version of you versus trying to do something that just isn't you. It usually doesn't work out. Similar question for you, Jackie, but from a different lens. What advice do you have for someone that's maybe considering becoming a mentor? What have you seen worked really well for you where you felt like you were able to be very effective as a mentor?
I think if I reflect on my experiences, not only as a mentor, but even as a mentee, and what's been really powerful and impactful, I think there's three themes for me. The first one would be about empathy and deep understanding. So as a mentor, really understanding the human or the mentee that you're partnering with. And I'm just talking about goals or aspirations. I'm talking about deep values, tensions, frictions, challenges that person has on a day-to-day basis. And I think what that does is it gives context for a mentor. It helps guide conversations. It helps guide the direction. It helps frame up questions. It helps challenge some of their thinking as well. So the empathy and the deep understanding would be the first one. The second one that I would say is active listening and challenging assumptions. So effective mentors, from my perspective, they don't have a preconceived notion or they don't have ideas of how they want a conversation to go. And they're not thinking about their answers before the mentee has already hasn't stopped speaking. So they're really actively seeking to understand what's going on. And they're not just taking the easy answers either. They're really asking tough questions. They're really challenging mental models, disconfirming beliefs, and they're really getting the individual to think about things differently. They're using a little bit of science and a little bit of art on how to craft those questions. And then I think the third quality is probably one of the most important and probably something that evolves over time, but having that support in a non-judgmental way and creating that psychological safety where someone can be really safe and can get really vulnerable, because when you're vulnerable, most of the time you're very uncomfortable, and we all know that that's when you grow the most. And it's also when you're vulnerable, it's also when you have the deepest reflections as well about what's working and what's not working. So I would frame it as those three themes.
All right. Very good feedback, especially the active listening. I think that's an area that, again, being vocal, self-critical, we think we're really good at active listening, but most of us are probably listening to respond versus listening to understand, and then to your point, really trying to go a little bit deeper. So please give the panelists a round of applause. Fantastic information. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your stories and your experience with the mentorship program. All right. With that, we'll transition on to our next session here, which is around the NAWOxTalks, which is one of my favorite part of the NAWO Alumni Mentorship Program. So as Louise kind of insinuated, we started the NAWO Amazon Alumni Mentorship Program in 2023. And one of the things we were trying to do is offer a number of program benefits to our participants, one of which is the NAWOxTalks. And the NAWOxTalks is an initiative that coaches members of the NAWO Alumni Mentorship Program to really tell their stories with passion, purpose, and confidence, as we saw the two ladies do with us here today. In addition, it gives the participants a platform to share their story. I think in order to build some of your confidence, being able to share your story and practice sharing your stories with a group of peers is really, really helpful and helps build that confidence. So that's the other thing that the program offers. And then most importantly, the winner of the program then also receives in-depth one-on-one support with a strategic speaking coach, Rachel West, and then all finalists also have the opportunity to develop their skills in persuasive presentation skills, training from Sharon Ferrier. So we had a number of finalists here, as you can see. Please give them all a round of applause. Congratulations. And the winner of our 2024 NAWOxTalks is Shelley Haslett. Woo! So Shelley is a senior food technologist working in new product development at BEGA Dairy and Drinks. And in addition to creating some of your favorite products,
Yes.
which I don't know if I know about all of them, but
couple of notes.
I think some of you guys are familiar. Shelley is passionate about people and leads the diversity and inclusion team at BEGA Dairy. And that team is focused on creating an inclusive and welcoming environment through education and celebration, which is awesome. One of the things we have at Amazon is work hard, have fun, and make history. So it sounds like you're doing exactly that by leading this program. And then on the weekends,
Yes. Very important. Very
Yes.
important.
balance, right?
Balance,
Got to find
yeah,
balance there
yeah.
somewhere. Some of us are still struggling. Shelley likes to get outdoors with her wife and toddler, or catch a live music show somewhere, which I also know is Jenny's passion as well.
Oh, excellent.
So
Let's
maybe you guys
connect.
need to go to some concerts together. So
Yeah.
again, you completed the NAWO mentorship program in 2022 with Dr. Roya Khalil, and is here tonight to talk about how mentors have impacted your life and career. So again, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have you ever had someone impact your life or the course of your career? Maybe a manager, a colleague, or a friend. I have. These people have opened doors, given me space to show up, and planted seeds that helped me become who I am today. I grew up in a home that in Australia would have been considered as pretty underprivileged. For a long time, my home felt unstable and unsafe to be in. I dropped out of high school at 16 because of some pretty intense homophobic bullying. Also, I never really pictured myself going to university, so why bother finishing high school, right? I see some nods. Despite this background, I still consider myself to be extremely privileged. Firstly, I was born in Australia. We have access to things like food banks, Centrelink payments, and free healthcare. I'm also white, straight and cis passing, which means that I look straight, but I'm not. And the sex assigned at my birth aligns with my identity. All of this means that I am inherently safer than someone who is visibly part of a minority group. For example, if someone asks me about my husband, I can choose not to correct them if I feel like that response might be a bit negative. These privileges are not something to be ashamed of. Understanding our own privilege and how it makes our lives easier can help us to support other people. Privilege is a powerful tool that can be used to open doors for others who don't have access to the same opportunities. There are so many people in my life who have used their privilege to give me opportunities that I would have never had access to. One way you can use your privilege is to enable the people around you to show up as themselves. You can do this as a mentor, a mentee, a CEO, or even as a friend. The first time I felt like I had a space where I could truly show up was when I was 15 and started after school circus classes. No, I can't ride a unicycle, but I can still fire twirl. Hey. The venue manager was an openly queer woman, the first I'd ever met. And when I realized, it was like a little light bulb went off in my teenage brain. I was like, oh, wow, I could do that. I could also date another woman. Wow. I really looked up to her. And 20 years later, I still do. She took me under her wing, mentored me, developed my confidence, and encouraged me to try new things. She opened doors that I didn't really know were options for me. Like teaching circus at a local school or presenting to the local council about our circus troupe. People in my circus group also took me under their wings. One took me to my very first music festival, something I thought I never could afford to do. Another taught me how to cook fresh asparagus, snapping off the woody bits and cooking it to perfection. I'd only had canned asparagus before and had thought it was pretty awful. Turns out fresh is best. All of these people gave me the space to learn and grow in a way that felt safe. There was no shaming of my queerness, no judgment of my daggy dancing, and a gentle kindness about my inability to cook something as simple as asparagus. And you know what? I thrived. I finally saw that there were options available to me that I hadn't even considered before. The key here is that I felt safe to step out of my comfort zone. But what can that look like when it's not being done well? I've seen this done poorly when people are scared of getting it wrong and just avoid participating or make a joke about it. A common one I see is people talking about the LGBTQIA+ community, getting through LGB, and then making a joke about not knowing the rest of the alphabet soup. And I get it. These things can be hard to memorize. But these jokes, they tell me that maybe you're not the safest person to be around. A bit of preparation, having some notes available, and a willingness to acknowledge that you're really trying to learn can go a long way. There's no need to be perfect, just willing to learn and do better. As mentors, mentees, and leaders, being prepared and willing to learn shows the people around you that you're willing to provide a space where they are able to safely show up. I found that this was the case during my NAWO mentoring experience. Roya ensured that we were able to show up without judgment, was willing to listen, learn, and be curious about our experiences, enabling us to get the most out of our sessions. Mentors throughout my life have also done something as simple as planting a seed. In fact, some of the people who have had the greatest impact on my life has done something as small as planting a seed. I already said that. You're welcome twice. In my early 20s, I worked on a small dairy farm in Gippsland. One of our cows was having a difficult birth, so we got the local vet out. As we were working, he asked, "Why haven't you gone back to study?" A simple question from someone whose name I don't even remember, but it planted a seed that changed my life. Within 3 weeks, I'd packed up and moved, put all of my focus on getting an education. Fast forward 6 years, 2 TAFE courses and 1 applied science degree, and I'm graduating at the top 15% of my class. Thank you. Not bad for someone who dropped out of high school and used to skip her science classes. That vet planting a seed didn't require much, just a curiosity and a willingness to listen. The grit and perseverance needed to go back and study, that was entirely up to me. By the way, we safely brought that little calf into the world. I had other mentors who also did small things that made a huge difference. A maths teacher really listened when I spoke about my knowledge gaps from missing so much school. He gave me some extra resources to help fill those gaps. I had a uni lecturer who I mentioned, I'm hoping to apply for this grad program that I really want. And he offered to review my resume and gave me some great feedback. Thanks, Daryl. I got the job. These people didn't need to step in and do the work for me, or even do a lot of extra work themselves. They gave me the tools and feedback that I needed to flourish. and it was up to me what I did from there. Another small act that can make a huge difference is opening a door for someone. My previous manager, Courtney, opened the door for me to be here tonight by giving me permission to do the NAWO mentoring program. As soon as I found out I would be keynote speaker here tonight, I called her and I said thank you for opening this door. I'm so grateful for having doors open for me by all of the people that I've mentioned tonight and countless others that I haven't. Now that I find myself in a much more privileged position, I try to notice when there's an opportunity for me to open a door for someone else. It can be such a powerful and easy thing to do, like pointing out someone's great work, even when they're not in the room. I recently heard Michelle Redfern, diversity, equity and inclusion expert, use the term, "a rising tide lifts all boats," in regards to women lifting each other up, especially in rooms where they're the minority. Now, when I think of opening the door for someone else, I also think about lifting other people alongside me so that we can all have a seat at the table. Being aware of your privilege, enabling the people around you to show up, planting a seed, and opening a door are all powerful tools that mentors have used to have enormous influence on my life and career. I hope that today, no matter if you're a mentor, a mentee, or random person on a tiny farm, that you can walk away from today with an awareness of how much potential you have to positively impact those around you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well done.
Oh, thank you.
So
Thank
good.
you so much.
So good. Give it up for Shelley, everybody. A big woo! Oh, and thank you too to our fabulous panel. I mean, what great messages that come through in all of that. I mean, I heard about the seasons of life, and thank you for that heartfelt share today. It was very vulnerable and touching, and we're always in a different season of our lives. And just your discussion made me think about something that a mentor of mine told me once, which is have a personal board. So bring into your world mentors for all those different areas of your life that can be your personal board in life. And I think that was a fantastic discussion about all of those aspects. And Shelley, what an amazing NAWOx talk. Woo! Brilliant messages there for all of us to take away, and well done. You're a superstar, and I think your circus performing skills certainly had you looking very comfortable on stage. I love let's just throw that page away. I might try that myself. NAWO was absolutely delighted to contribute to the Victorian Women in Manufacturing strategy in Victoria. Their priority 3, support for economic equity and leadership opportunities. And we did this by having sponsored places available in our mentoring program in 2024. This enabled 24 women in the sector to access 12 experienced mentors across different industries to help them navigate their career and have meaningful conversations to problem solve perhaps things that were happening for them in their season and help them really thrive. So I would love to just share with you a video that was put together that really demonstrates the power of this mentoring experience, and it features our mentor and a wonderful NAWO volunteer and committee member, Sandra Dalmasso, who was at BEGA but is now elsewhere, and her mentee, Courtney Morrish, and their experience is documented in this wonderful video, so I would love to just throw over to that now and see that play. Thank you.
When I started studying food science, I've always pictured myself working in a role that really heavily incorporated the theoreticals of science and then actually applying them to a realistic problem. I think manufacturing does that perfectly. I was lucky enough to relocate regionally to Strathmerton. Working regionally in that sort of community is incredible. My role at BEGA is formulation specialist, which means I take the raw materials we have and turn them into a consistent quality end product. The NAWO mentoring program was actually recommended to me by the female manager I have, so I applied and was really lucky enough to be paired with Sandra, who had worked at BEGA before.
The NAWO mentoring program was established by a group of women from logistics, supply chain and manufacturing to connect women coming through all of those different industries.
Through my mentoring relationship with Courtney, I try and support her through making her aware of various resources that are available out there.
The NAWO mentoring program has been great for me to have another female role model to be able to say, here are some good solutions to be able to deal with problems, to be able to deal with conflict and people, because I think that's what young women struggle with the most.
For many women, they still find themselves as one of few and sometimes still the only woman in a team or on a site, and that can be a challenge. So that experience really requires us to provide some support so that women who have exceptional skill sets can bring those to the table confidently, even if it means that they're standing out a little bit from the crowd.
I really get a lot of joy out of mentoring, particularly someone like Courtney who has such a strong desire to learn. I find that really satisfying.
I hope for a day when we don't actually have to focus on gender and that everybody's valued for the diversity that they bring to the workplace. And I want to see a manufacturing industry that is drawing upon 100% of the talent pool.
My favourite parts of manufacturing is I'm never bored. There is always something going on. There is always something to learn. It's an excellent career choice and really stable in Australia as well. So the job security is fantastic.
So that certainly, thank you, demonstrates the quality of the experience that people are having through our program, and we couldn't have done that without the support from the Victorian Office for Women, and it's with great pleasure that I now introduce to you Michelle Clark, the Director for the Office of Women here in Victoria. In this capacity, Michelle leads the formulation and execution of gender equality policies and initiatives throughout Victorian government. Michelle has played a pivotal role in the implementation of the Victorian Gender Equality Strategy, and if you haven't seen that, I would recommend you have a good look at it on the website, because Victoria leads the way. I think that needs a whoop. Woo! And the strategy is called Our Equal State, and she's also been pivotal in introducing gender responsive budgeting to this government as well. So way ahead, I have to say, of every other state in the nation. So well done, Victoria. So I would love to invite you up here, Michelle, to tell us a little bit more. Oh, and to also, present the Conor O'Malley Mentor of the Year Award. So thank you so much, Michelle.
Oh, thank you so much for that introduction. What an absolute pleasure to be here. I need to pass on the Minister's apologies. She very much wanted to come but was unable to, and I will have to thank her for that, because I get to share a stage with these amazing women and be inspired by everything I've heard tonight. So, I would like to start by talking to you a little bit about the Victorian Government and what we've been doing, and that wonderful video is a great example, and then I'll be delighted to present the Conor O'Malley Mentor of the Year Award, which honours a dedicated mentor whose passion and commitment has made a lasting impact. So we were thrilled to fund NAWO's program, the mentorship. It was part of a wider suite that we had to support women in manufacturing and women in energy. So last year, oh actually it wasn't last year, it was the year before. Time has no meaning since COVID. we had an inquiry into women's economic equity in Victoria, which brought together a panel of experts to look at why we still have such a big pay gap in all of the industries and what can be done to lift up women across the different sectors. So one of the recommendations was to look at male-dominated sectors and put distinct policies and strategies in place to bring up women and increase leadership participation and close that pay gap in some of those sectors that had the largest ones. We already had one in Victoria. It was the Women in Construction strategy, so it was recommended that that be used as a bit of a blueprint for going forward. On the back of that inquiry, I was thrilled when you get money. We got money out of government to create 2 new strategies. One is our Women in Manufacturing strategy and one is our Women in Energy strategy. So the Women in Manufacturing strategy was released, not too long ago, a few months ago now, I think it was in August, and our Women in Energy strategy will be coming out very soon. Actually, it was October. Sorry, my notes tell me it was October. And I can tell you a little bit about the strategy. So it's really looking to increase the number of women working and thriving in the sector. And its focus is on addressing the structural barriers to participation and supporting the attraction, retention, recruitment and advancement of women in the sector. The main thing is we don't want to fix the women. Women are amazing. Women are ambitious. Women are educated. Women have skills. It's about those structural and systemic things that are actually stopping women reaching their full potential. The fact is, given a chance, women can do anything and everything in absolutely any field. And so it was a $2 million investment by the Victorian Government in the range of industry initiatives which will be running over the last 2 years. And we've supported wonderful programs such as the NAWO program. We've supported small endeavours in companies really focusing on that pipeline. We're supporting getting out to schools and trying to get interest in girls entering these fields because, we know there's lots of gender bias in career counselling and it's just not seen as a career for many girls until they know about it and hear about the fantastic opportunities that these industries have to offer. So it's a nation-leading initiative which we're really, really proud of, and it really at its heart is trying to get to challenging those rigid stereotypes and norms that really do limit us all. And I have so many conversations in my job which is saying, yes, I'm the director of the Office for Women, which means I get to tell people at barbecues that I'm a professional feminist, which goes down very well. But actually, I work towards gender equality. And gender equality is good for all. It's not just good for women, it's good for men, it's good for non-binary people, it lifts everyone. And that beautiful, a rising tide lifts all ships, it lifts the men too. Because when we look at initiatives like parental leave, and I guess the amount of men who don't get to spend lots of time with children when they're born because their companies either don't have the policies or just don't have the culture that supports them taking time off. Men want to be with their children too. Men want to have work-life balance. Men want to be in workplaces where there's diversity and an excitement of ideas. So it's good for everybody. I'm conscious of time, so I'll skip the bit which is all about the other investment pieces and just focus on the main sections. So we're really aware that the economic benefits as well of these thriving industries should be shared by all. And that's the main way we're going to lift that persistent and disappointingly large pay gap in Australia. So we're really thrilled to see the strategies take shape over the next few years and hopefully be owned by government, by industry, by the education sector and be a really whole of community solving a problem which actually affects us all. But now I'd love to turn our attention to the outstanding achievements of everybody in the room. And it's my great pleasure to present the Conor O'Malley Mentor of the Year Award. This is the second year of the award. It was established in the memory of Conor O'Malley, a long-standing mentor for and supporter of NAWO and an ally for gender equality. And now that definitely deserves a whoop. Conor sadly passed away early in 2023, and this award recognises his contribution to mentoring, executive coaching, women in leadership, volunteering and allyship. The award goes to a mentor whom their mentee or others have nominated as going above and beyond in supporting women in operations to thrive. Now, there are 4 honourable mentions. Michaela Barton, Quality Assurance Manager at Kingston Estate Wines. I've had some of their wines, they're amazing. Brazer Batts, Head of Sales, Australasia Bradken. Claire Parker, Commercial Excellence Manager, Auspac Orica. And Ashley Jones, Senior Management Integration and Separation Programs. That's an excellent title. ANZ and Asian Regional Lead Markets, Metrotonic Australia. And I'm thrilled to say that the award this year goes to Jacob Creighton, General Manager, Technical and Strategy, Paper Division, Opal Packaging. Jacob was nominated by his mentee, Bitta Arani, Workforce Staffing Operation Manager with Amazon in Sydney. And I read some of the notes and they were just wonderful. And he sounds absolutely just a wonderful mentor. So congratulations, Jacob. Here. Oh, Jacob. Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So, thank you. I'm very humbled to be nominated. Thank you, Vita. But also to be given the award. And I understand that I've got 20 minutes, 30 minutes to give a speech. But there are a couple things I'd like to just call out. NAWO as an opportunity, I don't think I would have ever expected that I was gonna be in the position to be a mentor. It's certainly part of my job over a few years, and I've had the chance to do it for 6 now. And every year is better. I have to say that I feel sometimes like it's almost criminal that I get to be a mentor, because I walk out of the process thinking, I think I've learned more than my mentees. And so I come back the next year going, okay, I'm going to do better. I'm going to do more for my mentees. And I think that that certainly is true. The amount that I've got out of this whole process, and Louise, with you and your team supporting and guiding and nurturing this, I can't thank you and your team enough. And one of the people I'd like to call out is Alicia, because she's had to put up with a lot of me over the last few years. But we talked about, the Amazon team made a comment that I thought was really interesting, which is about getting that mix, finding the right mentor and mentee, getting that relationship right. And as a mentor, and I've been doing mentoring circles for a few years now, there's this excitement and fear. I think there's equal amounts of that, where you go, okay, I've got this team of mentees that we're gonna be working together. I hope it works. I hope the chemistry's there. I hope all of that stuff. And I think Alicia has done something which is amazing, being able to pick a group of people that can get something from me and that I can get something back from. So a special call out. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank my business for giving me the time and the experiences to be able to share. It's had a few name changes over the years, so I'm not going to go through those. But the opportunity to have those tough discussions and those tough experiences, then to be able to pass on to somebody else is certainly very valued. I would call out, though, that, well, this is fantastic. The whole process is not about mentoring, it's about the mentees, as I see it. And I think that there's so much to be said for knowledge and experience given freely. And sharing those experiences for my mentees to be able to build on is truly valuable, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to do that. And I think that, just lastly, because I've got a whole bunch of other things, but I also recognize it's not 20 minutes. I look forward to next year. and the year after that, and then the year after that, because this is something that not only do I have new skills that I get to take away and share in the other parts of my life and my business and my family, and my kids, but I also get to continue to give. And we see that as a really important part of our business. How do we not just take, but how do we give back? Because if we're not giving back, then we're not really doing our job. And lastly, I'd like to call out the people that supported me in this process, my mentees: Laurel, Reggie, Cindy, Paula, Diana, Chrissy, Venice, and Bita. Those were my mentees for this year. So again, thank you very much, and let's look forward to next year.
Thank you, Jacob, and congratulations to all of our fabulous honourable mentions. I'm going to pass this up the stairs. I'm going to pass this up to Claire, because Claire's with us, and I just want to give her a big woo! All of our volunteer mentors just do such a sterling job, and I know it is all about the mentees, but we cannot forget the time investment and the absolute commitment that our mentors show every year, and we have such a high return rate for our mentors as well, which Jacob has shown. So I'm just so enormously grateful, and I hope you enjoy displaying our award in Conor's honour in your office space, wherever you would like to put it. I hope you are very proud, because you've done an immensely great job. So here we are in closing. It's been a rapid ride. I told you it would go fast, everybody. I hope everyone online's still with us and having a great time. I formally congratulate and welcome our 2024 NAWO mentors and mentees into the Amazon-sponsored NAWO Alumni Network. Huge thank yous go to Kylie Nielsen from Amazon for just stellar organisational skills for us here in Melbourne. Thank you, Kylie. Lydia Averill, of course, and Ellie Main. You are a dynamic duo that just get stuff done. You're amazing, and thank you so much. Marcel Varnell, Freya Rogers Fausk, and the whole Amazon production team. Wow, I've never had a production team before. Give it up for them. The Victorian Office for Women, Minister Hutchins, and of course Michelle, thank you for joining us tonight. Uncle Bill Nicholson, and my exceptional NAWO team. Can we give it up for them? Because Alicia Taylor-Jones, hello online, Alicia. You do an amazing job of the jigsaw puzzle that is trying to match all of these superb people together every year, and it's coming up again. Yes, you're doing it again, because we've got an immense registration list for 2025, and thank you, Alicia, because I know that does create a summer challenge for you, but keep on doing your great work. Madeline Cooper and Fiona Evans, you've been absolutely instrumental to bringing this event together. Thank you so much. And our other NAWOians, if I can steal the Amazonian vibe today, to Sharon, Katie, Annalisa in person today, thank you so much for your support. And thank you to everyone who joined online. I know it's harder online, but I hope you had good fun. I hope you had a bit of a chair dance at some point, celebrating everything that you've done in the program. And we look forward to seeing all of you at another NAWO event soon. So thank you so much. For more hospitality, can you believe it, out in the other area. So please, if you can vacate this area.